Hello everyone and welcome back to episode 15 of the Add a Zero Challenge, where we try and take a $10,000 bankroll up to $100,000 playing live poker. Now it hasn't started too well. Our bankroll today is starting at $4,851, as you can see in the thumbnail, but I'm confident we can turn this around. I believe in my poker abilities. It's a pretty short day actually, so it's going to be pretty sweet and concise. Let's get into the action. First hand of the session, we look down at Ace King of Diamonds. We get a raise in early position from our Ukrainian friend. Get a call in seat 1, and we're going to squeeze it up to 100 in seat 2 in the button cutoff hijack low jack position here, making it 100 to go. Our stack looking like about 600, so starting this hand a little bit shorter than the $800 starting stack. Excited to play a pot. And our new friend, who I actually went out and had a drink with this guy after, which was really cool. He was a really nice guy. Calls the 100 here in the small blind. I'm so bad with names. I'm really sorry if I ever forget your name. It's nothing personal. We had a drink and it was a great convo. I loved it. So we go heads up here to the flop. Our opponent checks and we see a beautiful 8-5-2 with 2 diamonds with the ace king in the short stack. Basically, we want to get some money in here, but also this is a very dry flop. So let's pretend we didn't have ace king of diamonds where this wasn't obvious. This is a board where we want to bet. We have 3-bet pre-flop saying that we can have big, strong hands. It's a very dry board. We've got all these big overpairs, and my opponent just calls in the small blind. Makes it really hard to have a hand like kings, have a hand like queens, have a hand like jacks, have a hand like tens, right? Those are hands that are going to play aggressively pre-flop, or ace-king. So we've got a little bit of a range advantage. It's a very dry board. I think a small c-bet is going to be the norm in this spot, given that we're not that deep. You know, it's closer to a tournament stack here. Ace-king of diamonds. It's a bet. Looks like 105. We get a raise here. Raise all in, we call, and we're going to run it 2 times. I was feeling pretty confident. I even said I was going to win both times, but I actually ended up losing both, which is pretty brutal. So that's a tough start to the session. 2 overs and a flush draw against the pair of 9s, and we lose both. Not a great start. Starting up the next hand, we look down at Queen Jack suited, a beautiful hand in under the gun +2. We're going to raise it up to $25 in the straddle pot. Directly behind me, it makes it $80 to go. And action eventually gets back around to me. And I have got a decision to make here. What do I want to do with my Queen Jack suited? I wanted to take an opportunity to talk about pre-flop ranges here a little bit. This is one of the most common comments that I get while watching my stream is you're playing too tight or you're playing too loose, and debates about whether I should play hands pre-flop or not. So this is a range from Hybrid Poker. There's an ad in this video for Hybrid Poker. There's links below this video to Hybrid Poker. This is sort of what a pre-flop range is going to look like, and this is going to be our response to a 3-bet in GTO land, right? Game theory optimal. If we're trying to play perfectly against a robot, this is what we're going to do. And our pre-flop opening range, you'll see, is actually pretty tight here, right? People advocate playing a much wider range than this, and this is actually considering being in the low jack. We're in an earlier position than this range is modeled on. So you can see ace-9 off is a pure fold. King-10 off is mostly a fold. Queen-jack, we're only raising half the time. If I look at my range in this game, I'm raising all of these suited connectors 100% of the time, 5-4 suited up to 10-9 suited. I'm raising down to King-7, and I'm dropping the King-6 and King-5. I'm raising all the suited aces. And then the Queen-9 and the Jack-9 is dependent on what's going on at the table. The second thing that's really important about what we should be playing pre-flop is the rake structure. And this Hybrid Poker rake is modeled after an online poker Zoomer Fast Forward 500, right? So the rake is lower in this game than it is in the live arena that I'm playing. So live, this range would be tighter. My opening range would be tighter than this in theory, and my reaction to this 3-bet would be tighter as well. And would contain a little bit more 4-betting given the higher rake. That said, I think we're making the right adjustments when it comes to live poker, and as we can see with our Queen Jack suited, it's a sometimes fold, sometimes call. That's modeled after 3.5x raise, whereas we see just over 3x here. So I think the right answer is to call. Really what I want to assure you with here, and you can feel free to pause this video and check out the range and think about what you would do in this spot, is that there is justification behind the pre-flop ranges that we're choosing. We go to a flop here, and the flop is Jack 10-4. Now, we're out of position calling a 3-bet. We're going to start with a check. There's no need to bet here. We just check, let our opponent do the action. And they check back, which is a really good feeling here. See, the 3 of spades in the turn. What are we thinking? Well, if my opponent decided to 3-bet me with aces or kings or queens pre-flop, and we're playing this pot, I have about a $700 stack, what are the likelihood they're going to check back aces or kings or queens on a Jack 10-4 board? Very low. Very low. It's just not something I expect. I don't expect this opponent to 3-bet me with king jack or with queen jack very often either, for what it's worth. Ace jack is possible, and maybe they could check back ace jack. But really, that's the only hand that I think reasonably checks back on this flop that we're losing to. So I think we got the best hand. Now, the question is, do we want to check and let our opponent bluff, or do we want to get value? I think value. I think value is the play here. And it looks like I bet 125 and get a call. And the river is the 6 of clubs. Now, here's the question. On the river, do we want to bet or do we want to check? I like the check. They check back. I show queen jack, and we don't see our opponent's hand in the replay. And that's it. We don't know. I don't know. What do you think? What do you think they had? I think they had ace king or ace queen, to be honest. I think I have the coolest piece of poker software you've ever seen today. It is called Hybrid Poker. Brand new piece of poker learning software where you test your score against myself, against Daniel Negreanu, against Bill Perkins, and see how you score against the 3 of us, as well as other poker players as well. But Hybrid Poker learns about you, the player, this is really cool. As Hybrid Poker gets to know you, it's going to tell you what to work on. There's a link to the IQ test down below. Try it for free. I think you'll like it. So try it out. Moving on to the next hand. It's progressed quite a bit here. It's not a ton of hands in this session. So we're playing 4-handed right now, looking down at ace jack. We're going to raise it up to 30. This is a straddle pot. So it's 2, 5, 10, 4-handed here. We raise it up to 3x the straddle. We get a call in the big blind. And we go 3 ways, call in the straddle as well. Flop is king 9-4, dry. I like checking here, especially against these 2 opponents. The straddle is a really good opponent. Graham is a friend of the stream that's playing in the big blind, but he can definitely be sticky. So I don't like betting into the abyss here with my ace jack, where it's like I have a middle strength hand. I'm not going to get my opponents to fold any better hands, for sure. I'm not protecting against a ton on this dry board, and it's just kind of brutal inflating a pot out of position. So I like check. Checks around, and we go to a turn of ace. Now this is pretty interesting, right? This is an interesting turn. We've got 90 in the middle. Everyone checks in the flop. What's the likelihood I have the best hand right now? This is obviously a good card for my range. I raise pre-flop, right? I have a lot of ace-x hands. But what's the likelihood of the best hand? Well, can our opponents check back ace-9 in the flop? Maybe. Can they check back ace-4 in the flop? Maybe. Can they check back king-9 on the flop? No. Can they check back ace-king? Well, they 3-bet pre, and if they don't, they bet on the flop for sure. Do they have king-4? Probably not. But if they had it, would they bet the flop? Yeah. Do they have 9-4? No. If they had it, would they bet? Yes. Same with 4s, same with 9s. So really, when we think about this, right, we didn't get 3-bet pre-flop. We have almost the nuts here. The only chance we don't have the nuts is if our opponents have ace-9 or ace-4. We bet 70 into a pot of about 90. We get a call. And the river further exacerbates this situation. It's a dream card for us. It's the ace. The same situation applies, right? The same situation applies. It is almost impossible for our opponents to have a better hand. Almost impossible. The straddle is a good player. He's a Ukrainian player. He's been playing poker for a long time. Been watching my channel for a long time. He's a professional player. I think he plays a lot in my stream. I think fair to say he's a professional. If not, he's a great amateur. So, like, he's thinking about the game. He just can't have a better hand. I go for the overbet in this spot. There's 150. There's about 250 in the middle, so I overbet. I make it about 125% of the pot. Now, they do end up folding. But the great part is the pain.
Nice bet.
Thanks, man. Nice bet. You hear it? You hear the nice bet? We put some pain on our opponent. We don't get the payoff. Nonetheless, we put him in the blender, and we're moving on. Picking up this hand in a straddle pot, again 4-handed. We have a limp on the button of 10, a call, and we're going to raise it up in the big blind to 50. Pocket 8s. A beautiful hand. And we go to a flop of jack 7-3. I think I can go either way on this flop. We're heads up pot. We are out of position. We sort of have a middling strength hand, but I don't hate a small bet here either. We do get Graham to continue with ace highs, with club draws, with every 7, and then we cost ourselves a bit of money against a jack, but we kind of determine the price. So I don't mind a small bet or a check. I think both are fine. I lean towards bet. And we bet 40 here after we raised to 50 pre-flop. So this is 40 into a pot of about 120, 1/3. Turns the gorgeous 8. Turn comes the 8, and I bet. We get a call from our opponent. I can't see the exact size. It looks like 120, 120, 145, one of those two sizes. River is the 9 of clubs. It completes the flush draw, and it completes the possible straight. I think I'm in a very difficult spot here with my set. Now, we are in a heads-up pot. I do think our opponent is capable of paying us off with a pair. If we check, Graham's always going to check worse hands back, so I'm not going to get value from those hands. If I bet, I sort of dictate how much I lose. I could also check fold with my set. But again, we're in a 4-handed game here. I have a set. I don't know what to do. It's just a brutal spot. It's a brutal run out where obviously it completes some straights and flushes. I think I should bet. I do bet on the river, probably a small size, like a block size, basically, to try and get paid by a jack. And he calls. He has the straight, and so we lose a pot there.
Tough spot on the river. What do I do? Nice Hammond. If I check, you get free river with all your 2 pairs, and you can bluff me sometimes. Oh, chat, a nightmare.
Moving on to the next hand, we're going to look down at 6-7 offsuit here. On the button, it's too wide of an open in theory, again, but I think given the lineup, we get to open it up here, given our stack depths and what we know about our opponents. We raised to 25. We get a call on the big blind, blind. Graham calls blind. So we go to a flop, and the flop is 10-8-6. Now, normally I'd check back here, but my opponent's blind. I think we should bet. I think it's very likely we have the best hand here, and we should get some value. We bet 20 into a pot of 50. Still blind. He's going to call blind and go to the turn. Turn is a 7. Now, we turn 2 pair. The thing is, let's hear what he says.
I'll look. If you don't, I won't.
If you bet, I look. If you don't, I won't. So here's the thing. If I bet, I allow Graham to play pretty perfectly, right? Like, the board is very obvious. Graham's just going to fold like Jack 4, right? So if I bet, he's just going to fold his air balls. And he's going to be able to continue really well with a 9, really well with the flush draws, with the diamond draws. I mean, yeah, we get some value from a top pair, but I think a check is all right too. I mean, the board is quite dangerous. He is still blind up to this point, and we're going to put him in a spot where he's going to be facing the river without having seen his hand. So, yeah, I go for the check with the bottom 2 pair.
All right, check, check, check. Check, check on the turn.
It's a very weird dynamic here. River's the 5 of hearts. He looked, he said, I have a 9, and he bet 50. Now, it was a long deliberation here. And I actually talked about this a little bit. We'll put some of the thoughts in. I eventually ended up folding, and thankfully got shown the 9-4.
Oh, it's a cruel game. It's a cruel game. Yeah, yeah. I believe you.
No, really,
I do believe you on that one. Yeah.
So pretty tough spot. It's not a big bet given the size of the pot, right? Like, it's a pretty inline bet. But I kind of just believed him, basically. He can have any 9. He can have any 2 hearts. He can have any 4. And it's the best hand. Then also, when he leads for 50, I think it's likely he has the best hand. Probably not doing it with a 1 pair of 10. And probably not doing it with an air ball, being blind to the river, knowing that we've shown some strength. So I fold, make the correct fold against a straight, and basically not what we want to have happen. So the end of the session, we are minus 1280. It was a very short session in terms of like the notable hands. Hopefully some of the discussion was interesting and useful for you. And the challenge continues to go poorly at this moment in time, which was in the past. But at this moment in time, it was going poorly. And that's not great. But at the end of the day, I mean, what can I do, right? I can share what I know about poker. I can do what I think is best. And hopefully the things go our way. Didn't run so well in the session. Didn't hold in some of these runouts. And didn't pick up any big spots. So such is life. That's live poker. Sometimes 7.5 hours is just a little underwhelming because we're not getting that many hands. So that's it for this episode. I hope you enjoyed it. Let me know what you think down below in the comments about any of the hands and the episode. I'd love your feedback as we continue to massage and work out this format. Thanks so much for watching. Appreciate you all. Until next time, we'll see you later. Goodbye.